This beautiful thing we call life is a game to be played like chess. And you know that communication is key, so use your words to win like Scrabble. And if you're into real estate, collect the rent and build like Monopoly. But make sure you've got the right players on your team.
What's up, fam? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, fam? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, fam? What's up? What's up?
What's up, fam? Matthew Sewell here, Real Estate Plug, your realtor and investment strategist, back with another episode of Rap and Real Estate, where we talk rap, artists, their lyrics, and all things real estate. So let's get into it. Yo, I'm super excited about this episode because Eminem just dropped a new album entitled Music to Be Murdered By. And full disclosure, I haven't listened to the entire album yet, but I have heard a few songs off of it. I heard the Ya Ya track with the Ill Busta Rhymes sample featuring Royce the 5'9", Black Thought, and an artist new to me, Danon. I've heard Lock It Up featuring Anderson .Paak, and I also heard the track Godzilla with the late Juice WRLD. And real quick, in the last episode, we talked about the importance of having the right realtor, having a realtor on your team that you can trust. And in line with that is having people on your team that you can trust. In the book, From Good to Great, Jim Collins talks about the importance of having the right people on the bus. An awesome book, by the way, in which Jim Collins defines greatness as a company that achieves financial performance several multiples better than the market average over a sustained period. Collins and his research team identified a few elite companies that made the transition from good to great and sustained that performance for at least 15 years. So, if you're looking for a good book talking about how to be great, it's an awesome book, From Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's incredibly important to make sure you have the right people riding with you. Unfortunately, Juice WRLD didn't have the right people on the bus, plane. Yo, first of all, there's absolutely no reason that he should have taken the fall, literally, for any of that. Him being the breadwinner of the clique, group of friends, managers, whatever the case, there's no reason. Like, that was a complete lapse in judgment. Yo, my man had 70 pounds of weed on the plane going from California to Chicago. Now, I get it. This is California and we're well known for the cannabis here. And it is Chicago, so if I were him, I probably would have went back with 70 pounds myself. I'm joking, I would not have. But I definitely understand the desire to. Terrible decision, but I understand. Yo, they also had a few firearms with some armor-piercing bullets and 6 bottles of a scissor. Now, the authorities were waiting for him when he pulled up, which means somebody said something. And word on the street is that the pilot had tipped off the authorities. The pilot. Make sure that you're in good company, surrounded by people that aren't going to encourage you to make dumbass decisions, because it could literally cost you your life. And speaking of life, my favorite song off the album is You Gon' Learn, featuring Royce the 5'9" and White Gold. And we're gonna cover a few of Royce's lines today. And side note, I'm gonna make this personal real quick. Royce, Ryan, I'm not really too sure what to call you, but you've been one of my favorite artists for the longest time, ever since I heard boom and hip hop. And shout out to Primo for the plug. And all the bar exams go crazy. Some harder than others, but we're not gonna talk about that. You are legendary, and I appreciate your contributions to hip hop. And shout out to you for making the big move of doing the sobriety thing. I'm with you 100%. You have 100% of my support, and just wanted to let you know that I'm thankful. And since we're talking about Royce and M, I gotta shout out the D. RIP Proof, RIP Dilla, RIP Baten, and shout out Black Milk, Elzai, the whole Slum Village, Trick, Danny Brown, Guilty Simpson. The list goes on. I could literally go on forever. So much talent has come out of Detroit. Let us not forget Motown. But enough with the shout outs. Let's talk about Detroit a little bit more. Detroit is the largest city in the state of Michigan and is probably the most well known for, well, I did say Motown, so I'm gonna lead with that, but also the assembly lines that Henry Ford manufactured to do the Ford stuff. The Motor City was hit hella hard in the recession, and random fact, in 2012, the average price of a home was $7,500. $7,500. But now things are looking up, mainly because two families with money made a commitment to get the city off the struggle bus, and it definitely looks like they're succeeding. The downtown area has been completely refurbished, and all of the janky foreclosed homes have been torn down. And Detroit is home to the big three automobile manufacturers in the US and Canada. We got Ford, we got GM, and we got Chrysler. And it's the headquarters for major corporate offices of 100 Fortune 500 companies. We got Penske Automotive, we've got Quicken Loans, we got Kellogg's, Whirlpool, and Walmart. And with all that, prices are still dumbass cheap. I mean extremely affordable. How cheap? Cheap as hell. You can purchase turnkey properties, ready to go, fully renovated homes for $80,000. And in some cases, 50 grand. The rental market has been doing pretty well too. Detroit has been allowing investors the opportunity to generate rental income at higher rent to purchase ratios than the national average. Home values have gone up 68% and rents have gone up 18% over the last 6 years. So if you're looking for somewhere to invest, or you're tired of living where you're at and want more affordable housing, sounds like Motor City could be the move for you. And speaking of moving, let's move right into the lyrics. In the song You Gon' Learn, featuring Royce the 5'9" and White Gold, Royce the 5'9" drops a few lines about real estate, and without further ado, we're gonna jump right into it. Hey Siri, play them Royce the 5'9" lines. Oh, what up though? Oh, you wanna hear that You Gon' Learn? Shit, that track hot than a mug. Let me put my white buffs on, I got you.
I'm a product of properly hopping up out of that poverty, profiting off of copping and swapping that property out for a possible monopoly.
First things first, Monopoly is a dope ass board game in which the whole point is buying and trading properties, developing houses and hotels, and the boss players are collecting rents and trying to bankrupt everybody else that's on the board. And if you're trying to get beat in something, I dare you to challenge me to a game of Monopoly. I'm collecting rents and I'm gonna make that ass go bankrupt ASAP. In the game, in real life is a completely different story. I'm trying to trade and build with you so we can all win. Now, I'm pretty sure you can guess what I'm gonna say, but in case you can't, real estate can do a lot for individuals and family, especially having to do with bringing people out of poverty. How, you ask? Well, home equity is a large percentage of most families' wealth. The federal government subsidizes home equity in ways not available to other forms of wealth building. For example, home buyers might only have to put down 3.5%, in some cases 0%. The banks and lenders finance the rest with low interest rates over as long as 30 years. Can you imagine the bank giving out that kind of loan for any other investments or stocks? I for sure can't. Banks and lenders are willing to offer such amazing rates because the government is guaranteeing the loan. The government also gives homeowners tax advantages. Homeowners can deduct the mortgage interest and property taxes from their income, along with a few other tax advantages. And if you have questions on that, reach out to a friendly CPA of yours and ask. If you don't have one, let me know and I'll link you with somebody. If you're wondering why the government would subsidize these home loans and give tax break, it's because they're supposed to improve the overall national economy and quality of life of its citizens. It's also supposed to improve the country's human capital. So when it comes to poverty, copping property, and monopoly, if done properly, you can legitimately leave a legacy most would not believe. There are a number of different methods that you can use to start playing Monopoly. It's all about which ones are best for you. Now, some other lines that Royce said that made me feel some type of way were,
If y'all against talking reparation, then I'm not against the thought of separation.
and my mind immediately went to slavery, the 40 acres and a mule situation, and Black Wall Street. Now, my mind went to slavery and 40 acres and a mule for obvious reasons. He said reparations, and 40 acres and a mule is what was promised to us at the end of slavery. Now, when the Civil War was winding down, General William T. Sherman met with some black ministers with the goal of helping the newly freed slaves. Special Field Order 15 were military orders that set aside land along the southeast coast so that each family should have a plot of not more than 40 acres of tillable land. Now, as soon as Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, those plans were scrapped. Andrew Johnson reversed those orders and gave the land back to the Confederate owners. So, black people, aka African Americans, here in the US never received reparations for slavery. But you know who did? The slave owners. That's right, the slave owners. The District of Columbia Emancipation Act paid those loyal to the Union $300 for every enslaved person. The District of Columbia Emancipation Act paid those loyal to the Union $300 for every enslaved person. So the people that were slaves didn't get any money or any land out of it, but the slave owners who had to let the people go got money. Funny story. Now, as a realtor, you can imagine that one of my favorite words is equity. And when we're not talking about the value of the home minus the amount owed on it, equity is the quality of being fair and impartial. I believe that we were all created equal. And I also believe that what has happened and what continues to happen is not fair. I don't have all the answers, but I definitely think there should be some form of reparations. Now, I don't know exactly what that would look like, but I definitely think land would be a good start. And I'm up for discussion. If this is something that you want to talk about, feel free to slide in my DMs. We can definitely talk about it. We can make it a public discussion and see how everybody feels about it. Now, about separation. When I heard that, I thought of Black Wall Street, and that was separation. I definitely think segregation played a huge part in that, but nonetheless, Black Wall Street was a town in Tulsa, Oklahoma, made by black people for black people, and it was thriving until there was economic envy. There were allegations of sexual assault, white people were up in arms, black people were up in arms, and then race riots. Then mobs of angry white men, armed, descended on Greenwood, looting homes, burning down buildings, and shooting black people dead on sight. Good Lord. And Numerous eyewitnesses described airplanes with white assailants who fired rifles and dropped firebombs on buildings, homes, and fleeing families. Crazy. Because I lead with love, I am against anything and everything fueled by hate. I think that we should be able to love one another and all get along. So what I got out of Royce's lyrics were that if we're not gonna act like we're all created equal, if we're not gonna treat each other fairly, if we're not gonna treat each other with love, then maybe separation is the answer. And you know what? I don't disagree. I will say that what I believe is love is the most important thing. We should definitely be able to love one another and treat each other with respect. So I'm gonna take this time out to tell you, listener, watcher, reader, that I love you. I love you unconditionally. I love you and I want the best for you. And I pray that you live long and prosper. With that being said, if you have any questions on anything that you've seen or heard, you can find more information on my website at www.myrealestateplug.com. You can find me on all the social medias at myrealestateplug. You can call or text me at 510-918-7584. And I'm really easy to find and even easier to get a hold of. All right, so remember, my name is Matthew Sewell. I'm your real estate plug, and I'm here with you and for you.